Today I'm going to show you in this video exactly the secret formula that I use to improve your systems. That's what I wanted to say. And to help you run your agency on autopilot. Now, autopilot might seem a little bit exaggerated, but I'm going to show you what system that we're using to improve and help you build a high-performing team, but especially how you can streamline your systems so you actually have a way to upgrade your productivity for your team, yourself, your agency. Because let me just show you exactly what I mean. So we call it the systems for titans, right? We use a specific formula for this. Now, what is the common CEO issues? What is the common issues that you have? It's about you're still in daily fulfillment. I talk to a lot of agency owners these days, and what they tell me is they want to scale, but they are still stuck in the daily fulfillment. They still have to help the team, right? They still have to babysit the team because they're not sure that they're doing actually the work that they should be doing. And that's an issue because you want to have a team that's really self-organizing. You need to be able to let the team run the show without you. That's the whole thing. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact principles that I'm using, that I'm implementing within agencies that can help you do that. Now, another thing that I'm seeing is constant micromanaging to get things done, you know. Like agency owners, CEOs are still looking over the shoulder of their team. Now, in a remote setting, what this means is they are like stuck in Slack, or they are stuck in Trello, or Asana, or any other project management tool. They just do that day in, day out, hours on hours, just to check if their team actually is doing something. And if it's not set up correctly, they don't see anything moving. So they have to chase their team and they have to ask for updates. And that's, again, not the way to go. If you want to scale, if you want to get back your time, then you have to make sure that you don't have to do that. Your team should be able to do that by themselves. Again, something I will show. What else? Like waking up in the middle of the night, like wondering, am I going to get this deadline? You know, this is also a big issue for a lot of CEOs that are running like web design companies. Are they able to get the deadlines from their team? Is the team able to hit the deadlines, yes or no? And they just wake up and just wondering and worrying and getting anxious about that. So that's what I want to talk about. This is the issues that we can solve with the systems, what I'm going to explain right here in this video. So what we want is, this is the end result that we want. Within the implementation of the systems of this formula, we can have 30% happier, more motivated employees. We can have 50% faster time to market. You're going to be able to ship faster. This is shipping of content marketing. This is shipping of your web design. This is even in the sales, we can go faster with this. Increasing of productivity. This is also like a big piece of this system if you implement it correctly. And also like improving the quality of what we put out there. Now, how are we going to do this? This is through the growth sprint formula that we have designed, and it is based on existing principles within the development world, within sales world, within marketing world. And the goal is really to double your profit, to free up 10 to 15 hours a week of yourself as the CEO. And eventually now, within implementing the system, you should be ready to scale without, or like while working less. That's really the goal here. So usually what we get is this kind of image. If I talk to agency owners and they're talking about their team, they're talking about the fact that their team is really not performing, and they don't know why, and they are not motivated. The team is not motivated, and they don't know how to increase that motivation. They don't know how to increase the productivity, the accountability. All of these pieces together make a team fail, make a team dysfunctional. We want to solve that. We have to solve this. How we can solve this? So with my experience from over the decades within corporates, and I am a certified Scrum Master, so that is taking this Scrum Master principles is from the Agile world, and all these principles that I have known for years now, this is what I have implemented within this sprint formula. And the growth sprint formula basically is a whole set of ingredients. It's about leadership, it's about team, systems, everything surrounding that. What we are going to talk about today is the systems part. If we look at the Agile methodology, so if we try to implement this, then there are different steps that will increase our way to improve productivity, to improve accountability, to improve quality, everything. So step one is to have more control. You will gain more control over the processes that you do, over the systems that you do. You will have better productivity. You will increase the quality. And this, in effect, will increase your customer satisfaction. Because in the end, if we implement this correctly within your agency, this will have your customers wanting for more. They will see the quality, they will see the speed, they will also feel that they are involved in the process much more than in a normal agency, than in a non-agile agency, let's say. And eventually, by doing this kind of systemized process, you will have a higher return on investment. So what is actually the Agile methodology? So there are different steps, and it's always like a circular motion. If you have watched my videos before, you can see that I'm still always using that circular way of explaining things, because it's always an iterative process. And it's a way of continuous improving what you have. Now, this image explains almost all of it, how we work, how we implement this formula. It's about, so you've seen the different processes coming from leadership to team to systems. So for example, if we're talking about the systems phase, then we're gonna implement Scrum, for example, or Scrum Ban, depending on where you're at, depending on what you do exactly. And this is something that is really valuable. What it will do, it will increase the way that you get feedback from your team, from your customers, from everybody that is involved within the process. And it's a continuous improvement. So you start with some planning, you start with a planning phase, and then you go into daily stand-up meetings, huddle meetings, whatever you want to call them, to check up on a team. This only takes 15 minutes, for example, and then we go on. And we say like we work in sprints. So we work in defined time periods. This can be 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even more. And for each week or for each sprint, we define our objectives, our goals, and we include the team. So the team has to decide what they can do within that set period of time, and they are accountable for it. So if the team says we can do this within that period of time, then they have to do it. And after that period of time, they have to show what they have done. And you as a CEO, you can actually step out. You can attend, for example, the daily meetings. That's not a problem. But in the end, you should be stepping out, not worrying so much of what they are doing, and let them do the work, right? Now, this system will create a better loop back, like a feedback loop, and it will create a daily accountability as well. So instead of waiting a week or 2 weeks and just trying to chase your employees, trying to chase your team is accountable for doing their own status meetings, and they need to also visualize what they are doing. But for that, we have like sprint boards or scrum boards or anything else to visualize everything. So basically, you start at a starting point, you start a cycle of a week, for example, you do daily meetings, and at the end of the week, you have a finished product, can be an MVP, like we say, a minimal viable product, and then we have to show what we have done, and then we can adjust. We can adjust based on feedback from the CEO or from the CMO, the CFO, from the customers, and we have to adapt with that, okay? And then we can go on to the next phase, to the next sprint. We define again what we're going to do in that week, and we can see progress much faster than we wait a month, for example. So that's the whole point here. So why do we do this? So some numbers here. So it will increase your productivity up by 38%, improved morale, improved accountability, improved collaboration, improved quality. So these are really the things that you are able to gain from implementing this methodology, this framework, this formula, however you want to call it. I call it the growth sprint formula, just to give it a name. In essence, the basics are coming from Agile, which has been around for more than 20 years now. So it's a proven system for sure. And so these are the benefits that you're getting. Now, if you want to look at, if this will work, of course, okay. Yeah, these are some of the values that a Titan team, I call it, so the team that is involved with this needs to have. These are the 5 values that they need to have. They need to have focus, because within that sprint, you focus on specific tasks or specific goals. So the focus is on that, and only on that. This will increase the productivity so much. There is openness. They have to be open against each other to make it transparent what they are working on. That's why we have the daily huddles, to make it transparent what they are working on. They have commitment, because they are accountable. They set themselves, like, this is what we are going to do within that sprint. So they have the commitment of doing this, which will feel much more engaging than if the CEO would say, you have to do this in this amount of time, and you have nothing to say. You know, it's the team that selects what they need to do. Courage. They have to be able to keep each other accountable as well within the daily huddles, or the courage to say that they have a problem, that they are stuck, and that they need help. You know, these things are important to have as well. And respect for each other is so important as well. Now, I'm just going to go quickly over some examples, how you can implement this formula, this methodology within your different departments. For example, sales. So this is, again, visualization of the process is so important. So this is an example of a sales process that we can implement with this methodology. So the characteristics of having a visualization within this system is about the swim lanes. You can see backlog, this quarter pending, closed, and things are moving. Things are moving from left to right. And you can have a lot of different metrics within this as well. So you can see exactly how much revenue you could be getting from these deals. These kind of things that's specific for each company. So it depends on where you're at. But again, it works. The methodology, the sprint formula works in every department. It's just about having faster feedback loops, having more focus on specific things. In sales, this works. It also works for marketing. This is an example of marketing. So you have your Facebook marketing, Google AdWords, blog posts, all of these things, and everything is created within tasks. And you can set it up like this. You can set it up in a process view. It depends on where you're at. So it's not about changing everything that you have at that time. It's about implementing improvements, continuous improvements. This is so important to have. And for example, like agile marketing is a big one as well. So you start with your product and marketing alignment. You do some planning. You do your weekly delivery of the initiatives. And then you have the feedback to do the improvements. You do the evaluation and monitoring, and you start all over again. So this process, again, is agile. This makes it circular as well. And for example, this is distinction between a waterfall, that they call it, and the Scrum or the agile way. So it's an iterative content creation. So the thing is, instead of like having one big chunk of project, for example, in a marketing content or a content marketing perspective, like a campaign, a blog or whatever, instead of doing research, write, design, until release, and then finding out that's not something that they want, you do it in smaller iterative or smaller increments. So you start writing and you go faster. You see what you can do within that 1 week period, for example. What can you create as marketing initiatives, marketing assets? You make sure that by the end of the week, you have something that's released. And then you gather feedback, you gather data from that, you gather how many views you have, how many user engagement and stuff like that. And from there, you can adapt. You can adapt your content, you can repurpose your content or create some different pieces from that. And you just improve what you already have in the next iteration. And you release again and again and again and again. This is the way that this kind of system works. So, and also your team, your marketing team is responsible for it. So they select what they want to do, what they should do, what they can do within that set period of time. And during those daily stand-ups, they will tell how far they are getting. And you as a CEO, you have to let them do the job. That's the whole thing. Because if I talk about running your agency on autopilot, I really mean that your team is empowered. You give them the accountability and the power to organize their work, right? And to do what they can do within that set period of time. You only step in after that 1 week, for example, or you can regularly get in that, like the daily stand-ups, but you don't do hand-holding. You don't go see, like ask every time or chase your team members. You shouldn't be doing that. Yeah, this is another example, agile marketing workflow. So you have your projects that's within the backlog. You got your steps that you need to perform for that project. Then you do every step, you do the daily stand-ups, and then at the end of the sprint, you have something that's shippable, and you do a review, and you start all over again. In development, now Agile stems, like it's originated from development, so that's why it's basically really heavily used in that space as well. And this is again an example of such a visualization of like over a workflow. And here you have just like 2 or 3 statuses. So this can be Scrum, Kanban, combination of those two. They work with stories, they work with epics, stuff like that. But you have the to-do, in progress, done. You see the visualization, you see things moving. It's within sprints, and these are the tasks that are being done within this sprint. Yeah, basically, this is the way it works within this methodology. And here is, again, that same picture that I have shown before, but a little bit more detailed, specifically now for development, but it stays the same for every process, almost the same. So you start always with a backlog. A backlog is a prioritized list of all the things, of all the initiatives, of all the big chunks of work that you need to do. And this is like, can be the features, for example, if it's about development. And then you do a planning meeting. So you take that backlog, you see what needs to be done, and then you include the team to see what can they do in that set period of time, in that 1 week or 2 weeks. And then you implement that. So you take that, you refine, or you break it down in tasks, and it's up to the team to take the tasks that they want, that they can work on within that period of time, within that 1 to 4 weeks. And again, every day you do your daily stand-ups to see what's going on, to see where they are blocked, so it's easier, it's faster for everybody to know what's happening. So you have your daily huddle, you have your review at the end of that sprint, and you have your retrospective. And the retrospective is an important piece as well. This is more about, okay, the last sprint that we had, last week, what did we do, what went well, what went wrong, and how can we improve that. So it's not about what have we done. It's more about the work itself or the process itself to come to that deliverable. How did that go? How did that work? What can we improve? Maybe we have to improve our process a little bit so it's better. But at the end of the road, after every sprint, we need to have a deliverable product. So if it's about site development, the first version, or you have like a feature, you need to implement a call to action button. Well, at the end of the sprint, the definition of done is for that call to action button. If you click on it, you need to be able to get a pop-up, for example. So that's the definition of done for that specific feature at that time in that sprint. So that needs to be working. Otherwise, yeah, it's not done. So, and this is more in detail, like how it all works. So again, the iterative process, the circular motion is clear here. All these things are within this process. And this is for another example of a Scrum board. It's a self-organizing team, and especially because the team itself pulls the work from the sprint backlog. So if you have your sprint backlog, which is a list of tasks that needs to be done within that period of time, your team is going to pull those tasks from that Scrum, from that backlog, instead of somebody assigning the tasks. And again, this creates accountability, empowerment for the team, so they can really select their own work. And that's about it. So my question to you is now, what is your biggest takeaway from this? Was this valuable to you? And are you already thinking how you can implement this? Because this is really important. In the end, we want to have like a good working team, a self-organizing team that can run the business for you. This is the goal. This is really the goal. And by having a self-organizing team, a streamlined process for every department, you will cut down the costs. And cutting down the costs will eventually increase your profit. And that's also one of the goals. While you as a CEO are working less on fulfillment, working less on hand-holding your team. And you can actually have more time to do strategic thinking, to do business development, to create partnerships. This is what you should do as a CEO, not hand-holding your team or doing fulfillment. So again, it was a quick session today, but I just wanted to give you as much as I could in this set of period of time. I will go deeper and deeper and deeper in the coming videos that we're going to create here, but this is the overall way of how to implement systems for Titans, right? And this will help you build a Titan of an agency. That's the goal here. I want to help you grow and scale your agency. And with this system, 100% this will work. We're going to work for 3 months, very intensive on this piece. And then we can follow up, because it will have to be a continuous improvement cycle for sure. And this will guarantee that your business will grow and scale. So this is me, Stefano Vreze. This was about systems. I will see you in the next one. Have a good time. Keep growing.